You're listening to Honey, We Made a Disney Podcast. Two friends since Walk Run Jogathon was the most cost-effective way to get out of class time, now guides on your nostalgic tour of Disney history, one magical film at a time. I'm Eddie Ferguson.
And I'm JB Waggoner. And on today's episode, we do our best to not listen for David Attenborough as we review Disney's true life adventure film, The African Lion.
So fasten that safety restraint and pull up on the yellow strap. It's time to open the vault.
Cue that Disney's sound effect. Okay, Eddie, the floor is yours. I'm here for your long explanation of this film, this series. Why is just my only question. It's just why.
So I wanted to start this episode by a long overdue thank you and expression of appreciation for JB's long-standing just patience with me over the decades. This is how this goes, where I get these like crazy harebrained ideas and JB, we oughta, and like a good friend who is so patient goes along with it, puts up with me when no one else in the world, not even anybody related to me would put up with all of this. So I'm like, JB, let's review all the like Disney history, like movies and the things that made them the company, not just like the classic animation films. Let's do it all. And I put together this list or whatever. JB looks over it and says, yeah, let's do it. Yeah, sounds good. And here we are. We find ourselves with The African Lion, which I would say 10 out of 10 people don't even know Disney made.
I didn't
right?
I didn't know that they made this.
I've like had this long-standing appreciation for nature documentaries. Always have enjoyed good nature documentaries. Probably the pinnacle of this would have been in college. We were not allowed to watch movies in our dorm rooms. This was a rule at Moody, not allowed to until like our senior year. At our senior years when they started to allow this or whatever. But you could watch documentaries. And one of my roommates
shows. What about shows that fake was a documentary, like The Office?
Well, I may or may not have broken
this rule multiple times.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, here's what the rule was. And so here's what we could do out in the open. So one of my roommates and I, who Carlos, a big movie fan, he had this massive sound system, screen and everything. We would watch a lot of nature documentaries because that's what we could actually technically get away with. The most famous of one being Planet Earth. Do you remember when like Planet Earth came out?
Oh yeah, that was in HD.
It was like HD. It was like a whole nother level. It's like, so I'm rambling a bit, but this like just to establish like I've always had this odd appreciation and enjoyment for all things nature documentary. But what I think a lot of people don't know is like Disney was the pioneer of this. They were at the forefront of putting together nature documentaries. I think now we just kind of think like, oh, they're everywhere. They're,
Snoop Dogg is narrating nature documentaries now.
Everybody has narrated a nature documentary. But Disney, they pioneered this. I think Walt Disney himself has over 8 Academy Awards just from these true life adventure films. And this is kind of in concert with everything. I know everything that we reviewed over the past few months is all kind of interconnected with Disneyland getting built and all of those different things. They used a lot of the footage in things like Davy Crockett. You know, we've got the really weird scene of the crocodiles and everything. Mm-hmm. That's all plucked out of these true life adventure series. So I've always had this curiosity. I've never had really sat down and watched all the way through one of these until we came to this. So it's part of the reason why I put it out there for this, because I was like, I need to watch one of these. We're going through all of like the things that made Disney. This is one of those. Let's put it on there and let's watch it. And JB, as a good friend, has put up with me.
Why did you choose this one in particular? Was there any rhyme or reason? Was this the first one? Was it the most famous of all the, like, what drove this choice, the African lion?
I have no idea.
Just the luck of the draw.
I randomly pulled it off of a list and one to make sure, like, not all the true life adventures are on Disney Plus. So I was like, is it on Disney Plus? Is it there? Whatever. And I threw it out there. I can't remember any particular rhyme or reason for this one, because it's not. I don't even think this is one that like hit awards or anything. I couldn't find which ones got the different awards.
Shocking that it didn't win any awards. It's so shocking.
What was your take? Are you a big nature documentary aficionado? Every week, pick a different one to watch?
I feel like nature documentaries, to me, fit nestled in there probably pretty close to Westerns, near the base of my genre enjoyment. You don't
like any Westerns?
I don't know what it is about Westerns. Maybe it's because I have zero desire to live back in that time and to relive those days. I don't know what it is. Like, loved playing cowboys as a kid, but just something about the movies it's just the same thing. Dude walks out, another dude walks out, one dude's faster than the other, lone gunman, then goes off into the sunset. I don't know. It kind of bored me. So
have you seen the new Magnificent Seven with like Chris Pratt and Denzel Washington?
The only recent, and in fact, I don't even know that there's that many Westerns that I actually like, but the newer 2013, 2014, or 2011 True Grit.
Cowboys and Aliens?
Cowboys and Aliens.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, same thing.
True Grit, yes.
True Grit, that was good, but it did not feel like it did not feel like a Western at all. But yeah, I would say nature documentaries are below even that. I have zero. I don't know if less than zero. So this is it. I think it just comes down to they are trying to create a human feeling story out of animals that, like, obviously I enjoy cartoons that have characters that have animal characters, and I feel for them, but there's just something, it comes back to even to when we're watching some of the newer Disney films where they're trying to make it as lifelike as possible, like the new Lion King, we were just talking about Little Mermaid, where they've made the animals feel so like lifelike that it loses its personality. And so when I'm watching these nature documentaries and they're talking about all of the different, like in this one, they're trying to make, this lion and he's a king over his subjects. I'm like, I don't care. I don't believe it. None of this. I'm out. I'm completely out. I'm not emotionally So Eddie, this is one of the few that we've reviewed on here that I didn't even make it through it. I like skipped around a couple times and I just nothing happens. Oh, it's just another random animal, not the lion. There's a lot of this movie spent on other things, not the African lion.
That felt weird to me. That was very like, hold on. I thought this was about the African lion. It was about 15, 20 minutes into this that I went, oh, poor JB.
This is a bad one. But I'm not. It's not about my hatred of all things animals. This is you. This is your time, Eddie. The floor is yours. That's why I started off with the floor is yours, because this is your time to expand and expound upon all the things you love about nature documentaries.
Well, and that's what I feel bad about. Is this is not this did not end up being one of my my favorite animal documentaries, nor exemplify anything that I enjoy or appreciate about animal
What is on your Mount Rushmore of animal documentaries?
I'll say
Happy Feet?
No, that's not a documentary. What was that? Like 2007, 2008? Disney kind of relaunched this whole idea with what they now call Disney Nature, which they come out with a movie, I think like every other year or something has been about their track record. And they usually release one that is like, this is the documentary. And then afterward, it's all on Disney Plus now, they will release a secondary one that is kind of like, how did they make it? And I find how they make them to be just as fascinating as the documentary itself. And I realized that as I was watching The African Lion. I think a big reason, dare I say like 50% of what like holds my attention and what I really enjoy about nature documentaries is the modern cinematography that they are able to capture in a lot of these. Going back to what we had said about Planet Earth and HD, and when that first came out, I was like, but I mean, even in that, it was like, I mean, cutting edge camera techniques and capturing these shots, getting these sequences that nobody had ever captured before. I think for me, that is probably the biggest draw. Another big draw for these is learning things that I never learned. I have an odd sense of curiosity. And so most of the time I just enjoy, okay, let's learn about these types of things. And then, I think it's fun how they do put those stories together. And for me, it's cute and creative. I know I can see where they can get annoying though. Because I felt it in this one. This one didn't have any of those things that I've mentioned about what I enjoy about animal documentaries.
Yeah.
It was like, the cinematography is nothing really to write home about. I'm sure for the day and age, it was incredible. And you just, I didn't learn anything new. There was, nothing too fascinating or anything with that. So I feel bad. I feel bad that I made you endure this. I feel like I should have screened a few of them and then, okay, let's do this one. But it is what it is.
The whole time I was basically waiting for the little bits that I did watch of this, I was waiting for this to turn into the scene from Financial Peace University where the gazelle is caught by is running away from the cheetah that Dave Ramsey is talking about, the student loan borrower running away from the creditor. I was just kind of waiting for that scene to pop up at some moment. That gave me a little bit of something to look forward to that never materialized.
Never came. You said you had a TED Talk prepared on this.
That is my TED Talk.
That's it.
What was this? Just why? It was just one word. It's a one word TED Talk, like a one man show. Why? Why, Eddie? Why is this important? Where does this represent in the park somewhere? Is this the beginning of why we got Animal Kingdom?
So this is where you get all of the animals in animated films. So what happened is they began research footage on Bambi and got all of this incredible documentary footage and decided, hey, let's begin to create documentary films about animals. We're doing this research for our animated films. Let's use that to be able to, create other content. So it kind of goes hand in hand where you're getting these documentaries, it's producing content, for that, for the Disneyland TV show, for like Adventureland stories. It also is this research library for animators as they begin to do a lot more animated films based upon animals. So you have that. That's a big part of it. All that I know of that it is represented in the parks is with in Disney's Animal Kingdom, there's a section where they kind of talk about the legacy of animals in the Walt Disney Company. And they use a lot of footage from this. That is where I first heard about the True Life Adventure films, was there at this exhibit at Disney's Animal Kingdom. And it's kind of in part why they went and made that theme park in the first place, is because Disney has had this kind of long-standing tradition with animals and using them in films. And then, of course, the True Life Adventure films and all of that. So, I mean, it kind of represents this long-standing history. And now, of course, with Disney's Animal Kingdom as a theme park, they've done a lot more, like the Disney Conservation Fund. They've got, like I said, the Disney Nature series of films, which I would really recommend those. Go, if you want like good, interesting nature documentaries, those are really, really good. They did one on like African elephants that I really enjoyed, polar bears, dolphins, and maybe if you're not as interested in nature documentaries, watch their companion films where they talk about like how they went about actually filming all of these.
Nature documentary about Pluie, the wolf that needs the Pluie Highway. We're gonna get that.
I watched, this was a long time ago. I mean, this is probably about 12 years ago, a really great documentary on the wolves of Yellowstone and how they reintroduced wolves to Yellowstone National Park and how it dramatically improved the overall ecosystem. Like so much so like new rivers formed and waterfalls that had disappeared.
What?
100 years ago, all started appearing because of the impact of wolves on the overall ecosystem in that area. And it was fascinating, super interesting.
Okay, I'd be interested in, because as you know, I'm a big proponent of wolves don't kill people. It is misnomer.
If we had a non-for-profit that we would support with all the money that comes in from this podcast, it would be wolf conservation.
Wolf conservation. That's my heartbeat, Eddie. That's why I haven't found that documentary yet. If you've got one, I'm going to make the
buttons.
Okay, good. Let's start selling that on Etsy right now. Let's do it.
I think it was on Netflix. I can't remember where it was. I'll see if I can track it down.
If you can find it and send it to me, I might just watch it. Maybe. Maybe.
I was going to say after this, you may never.
I need a year off.
Any documentary that I recommend.
Oh, okay, Eddie.
Well, I don't know if we need to go into the review. I feel like everybody can guess. We're going to be probably on the same page here for the first time in a while.
A 0? Is that just in NA for me? Is that no?
Well, I was going to give it a 1. I was going to say let's put it back in the vault. Let's enjoy it. All right, just going. Oh, that's sweet. That's nice. Disney did all of these nature documentaries. He won over 8 Academy Awards from this. He has won more Academy Awards than anyone else, and so that's a big part of that. But otherwise, yeah, let's slide these back into the vault and let's just jump forward to 2008 and watch some of those Disney nature films.
I'm totally good with that. Okay, Bill, now that you're filled up on some Disney nostalgia you didn't even know you needed, here is not a bit of Disney news, a lot of Disney news. We've been off for a couple of weeks for various maladies that Eddie has had to endure the past couple of weeks. So there's been a lot. I don't even know where you want to start with all of these. We can start with the trailer.
Can we start with the second one?
The second one?
Oh, yeah.
Let's start with We had some big shakeups at the top of the live action studio head. We got the guy who'd been in there for about 14 years. He got cut and then brought in a brand new guy from a very interesting place.
Well, what's interesting is this had actually, I mean, I had put this for us to look at 2 weeks ago, but even 2 weeks ago, I had seen it, but it had happened several weeks before that. Like this has now happened over a month and a half ago, that Sean Bailey, who used to be the executive over Disney Studios live action movies, kind of made this silent exit. It wasn't like necessarily a firing or a choosing to leave. It was just kind of like this
mutual parting of ways.
Yeah, quote unquote mutual parting of ways, which has been a part of a lot of shakeups that have happened across the Disney Corporation. There were some at ABC News that a lot of people have been talking about. There was one at Disney Imagineering, which is really big news. They let go of this random lady that Chapek had put involved who had never been an Imagineer, and now an actual like long-term Imagineer, Bruce Vaughn. He has come back. He's leading Imagineering now. So there's been a lot of big shakeups, but I think for us and our purposes here, the biggest one is Sean Bailey, the author of the live action remakes, the guy who he can be the scapegoat for talking fish and photorealistic animals and the relentless onslaught of remaking all these Disney movies. He's gone.
It's a big change, and I don't know that anybody is shocked that this happened because of how their live action has just fallen off a cliff. And I know that he is probably not, he may or may not be as responsible for all of the like Marvel or Star Wars sides of the things. I'm assuming they report to him, but all of those live actions that we have bemoaned, he has been the figurehead for it. And so him being gone is a big deal, but I was very interested in who they brought in to replace him. They brought in David Greenbaugh from Searchlight, who they acquired through the Fox acquisition. This is like the complete opposite of Disney, because this guy was basically Mr. Oscars. He was constantly coming up and making Oscar candidate movies. Big ones being Shape of Water. This year was Poor Little Things, which it didn't win Best Picture, but it won a bunch of other things. Shape of Water did win Best Picture the year it was out. And you just talk about, I don't know, I'm trying to see the rationale for this. If they're trying to make a big splash by finding a more awards-driven guy to run the studio, like it seems like a kind of a interesting decision when nothing that is out for awards is what the type of content that Disney itself would make at all. It's not even in the same ballpark. So I don't know if you had any insights or thoughts about them hiring David Greenbaugh to run the studio now.
Well, I mean, they've flirted with this in their other areas with a little bit of Marvel, a little bit of Lucasfilm, where they kind of grab these obscure indie, more writers and directors. Yeah, this one seems, very peculiar, but it's almost like, they like the idea of a creative at the top. They're like, somebody with original ideas and thoughts. And then they get them in there and then they go, oh, okay, that's maybe too original, or like too, it seems kind of odd. It's interesting to me. It's probably for me more encouraging than odd because it signals a desire to seek out new and original stories, which I think everybody would agree that that's what they have to go do. Like you have to you are coming to the end of re-cooking this IP. Like, you have to come up with what's the next generation of stories.
But that goes in complete opposition to everything else that they're doing right now, which is killing off projects before they go public, before they actually get done. That's where we've got tons of notes from Bob Iger's latest talking to the media. He always likes to make a little bit of a stir with it, but they've been like basically saying we're going to back out of. There's a lot of Marvel products that they have backed out of. There are just one after another different projects that they're just killing off and making room for sequels.
Yeah, and I'm quickly just kind of scrolling back through Disney films, trying to think through, like, I mean, the last original movie that was not a redo or of anything. I mean, we're talking. Well, it's funny. We were talking about this before we hit record. You would have to say the BFG. That was Walt Disney Pictures in July of 2016.
That there was no, but even wasn't that a remake, or was that the first time they had adapted?
It's from a book. That's the first time they adapted the book. Then after that, like, you're talking, I mean, you've got like Coco, Black Panther, but yeah, and then it's all remakes. It's all Christopher Robin, Mary Poppins Returns, Dumbo. Yeah, I mean, and that's, we're not including Fox in some of these in these things. Yeah, so I mean, it's been a really, really long time since Disney has tried something original. I mean, that's 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I know they are moving away from Ant-Man. That's another one that they've been talking. They're not going to do any more sequels there. The Marvels is one that they aren't doing any more
Done.
from. And it's funny, I just bemoan the fact they're not doing original stuff, and then I'm talking about sequels that they're not doing, but all of the new stuff that they're even going for. So Iger did a talk for, I think it was MSNBC or some news outlet, where he just did an unfiltered talk for a while, as much as you can get them unfiltered. So he talked about Moana, the decision to make that from a show into a film, and he said that he basically said what we all thought. Like, they saw that the 2016 Moana was the most streamed film of the year in 2023, and it gave us a reason to think, well, maybe it shouldn't be a TV series, but a movie, and so it will be. It's like not a creative pivot. This is this is our best IP. Let's just make that, and we're making it into a movie. Let's make it into a movie. Thought it was interesting that he, in the same thing, called Netflix the gold standard. Just kind of saying that out loud. How often you need to actually praise another streaming service like that? They want streaming to be profitable, but he called out that they've been on hard times. This has been about 16 months he's been on the job now. And he called out that, like, creativity really wasn't at the center and needed to be, but then he kind of pivots quickly and talked about profitability and hit on hard times.
Yeah, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth.
No, you can't do both. Like, it's going to be really hard to do either one really well without both of them. But, like, which way are you going? You're hiring a creative person to run the studio, but at the same time, you're making room for sequels. And also, like, what's not included in here is the fate of Snow White or Elio. He doesn't mention either of those two films, which both of them had release dates, had almost part of the movie done to make enough trailers for Elio. But when he's talking about all the movies he's excited about, he doesn't talk about those two at all.
I think we will still get Elio. I think Snow White is done.
Yeah, I hope so. It had so much bad blood from the beginning.
There's just no way that they can dig that one out. But yeah, I mean, it does. It seems odd, but I think they have to. Well, I mean, the whole industry is reassessing itself, right? That's after the strike. All those film studios sat down and went, "Oh, we're spending a lot of money, and they're taking these huge risks." I mean, that's what Disney pretty much. Disney does not make a movie for under $200 million.
Yeah.
Right. And I think no one in their right mind can walk out of Dune 2 and go, what are you spending $200 million on? He did this for under that. And it looks
incredible.
It is incredible. So what are you spending $200 million, over $200 million to make Wish? Where is that money?
Yeah.
Right. So I think that is the deep soul searching question. And that's kind of where I wonder if you don't bring in a guy like Greenbaum, who's an indie filmmaker who knows how to make really good movies on really tight budgets.
That's an interesting way to think about it.
Because that's what they have to get back to, is you have to. I always think of one of Michael Eisner's big things in the 90s was singles and doubles. He used to say this all the time of like, we're gonna turn the studio around with singles and doubles, not with home runs. And so that's where we got things like Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
Where it's just like low budget, you grab, an actor who's just past his prime, a little bit cheaper, but it's got the name recognition. And, you're not spending $200 million to make these movies. So it doesn't need to make $500, $600, $800 million. Yeah. Like that's what they kind of had set up, where they're spending all this money to make these movies that unless it crosses that $1 billion threshold, it's not going to return. It's going to be a bomb, right? So I wonder if in this, there's a bit of more of the pragmatic, not necessarily the creative styling of movies that he makes, but this guy knows how to make movies and make them on the cheap.
Iger also had some interesting things to say about parks. If you'd like to spell some of that out for us. They've been feeling a lot of the heat from Universal Studios.
Yes. So I think we had kind of talked about it on here last. I can't, I almost died since then. So my memory's not as sharp. Not literally, I'm joking. Universal's announced their third park in Orlando. Yeah. It's incredible. Wow. They're going to change the landscape of themed entertainment again, because they did it already with the Harry Potter worlds. Everybody's saying this is going to do it again. And Disney has known this has been coming and just acted like, whatever, we're Disney, we can weather anything. And I think they're finally waking up and going, oh no, we'll lose money on this. So Iger in this interview said they've got enough space right now all around the world to do 7 additional lands, like Galaxy's Edge style lands. That's such a odd, ambiguous number and statement, because it's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
They just had a huge win with the city of Anaheim. They've only got one more hurdle to go, and they're pretty much set to have the land rezoned where they can do a third gate at Anaheim if they want, or expand both parks by like over a quarter, 30, 40% or something like that. So it's interesting where they're searching. They're, I think, trying to play catch up here. They've really took a lot for granted over the past multiple years, and looking at it going, okay, where can we catch up? Where can we do it? In my beloved Animal Kingdom, they just filed permits last week to begin redoing an area there and expanding that out, with an Encanto attraction.
Yeah.
A new, pretty much bringing Disneyland's Indiana Jones over to Disney World. So yeah, like I think they're realizing we've got to run to catch up. We got to sprint to catch up. But yeah, 7 additional lands. Nobody really knows exactly what that means. But they are doing a lot of stuff in Imagineering, like I mentioned, bringing actual Imagineers back to run the company, bringing some of the old school ones in as mentors. My favorite Imagineer, Joe Rohde, just posted on Instagram this morning of him walking back into Disney Imagineering after he had retired about 3 years ago, right when Chapek came in. Rohde left, and everybody was like, no. He's the guy who's did Animal Kingdom, the Hawaii resort. He's the one responsible for the Tower of Terror in DCA and switched over to Guardians. Yeah, so it's like there's some cool things shaking up and happening there. What actually falls down to the ground and gets built is anyone's guess. That's why I think we should go to D23 so we can be there when they announce all of this stuff.
Well, if there's a sponsor out there that would love to sponsor the show and sponsor our trip by ourselves without our children to go to D23,
you can do that.
I think now's the time. When is D23? In August?
August.
Okay.
Yeah. I could miss my son's birthday for that. I think he would understand.
Great idea. My daughter's birthday. It's a great idea. This is how we do it. Okay, so to round out the Disney news, we've had two trailers drop in the time since our last episode that we talked about. First of which was a full Inside Out 2 trailer. We actually get more of the storyline, especially from it. We find out that the new emotions take over. We get introduced to all of them, but the new emotions take over because they're more sophisticated than the beginner or initial emotions. So anxiety kind of takes over, kind of starts running the show. I was enjoying the new little wrinkles to the story.
The trailer had a couple of really great one-liners, and I think that was what I loved so much about the first movie. Was very clever play on words and like thinking through these different things. The first one in the trailer that I really loved was when they literally bottle up the emotions.
Yep.
And I think it is fear that's like, we are suppressed emotions. I died laughing. I'm like, that is so funny. That is so clever. And then the other one, I'm about to text you and you beat me to it and text it to me.
Sarcasm.
Oh,
we're so glad we found you. Yeah, that was money.
It's just brilliant. Like, it is so clever. And it was smart of them to put it in the trailer because it goes like, okay, all right, these are the types of things that we loved and want more of.
Yeah.
Just so clever.
All like the Cloud City and all of those little tiny little moments. Like, that's what we're looking for, is the puns. So many puns and plays on words.
So I'm excited for this movie. I'm still got this bit of, trepidation, apprehension, because
as you should.
I feel like
as you should.
I've just gotten way too excited about things only to be let down.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm interested to see, what is the main storyline. I think they'll do a great job of the internal stuff. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
The other trailer we got was we finally got word about the Acolyte. Just super exciting to get the next Star Wars taste, like something to look forward to.
You've actually read some of the books from this time period, because this is set in the High Republic period,
way earlier,
several hundred years, way before the Skywalker saga.
Much like 1,000 years or something like crazy.
Something like that.
So I believe what we're watching in this series is kind of the rise of the dark side and of the Sith. You start to see them kind of pop up right about then, and their slow rise to power. So this series is gonna drop June 4th. So we still got a few months away from it. But we've been hearing rumors and like little things that it's on its way, but we had no idea. I think this was actually supposed to be last year potentially to drop, or end of the year, and they've been kind of like pushed it back like they have so much else. But I love new Star Wars stuff to look forward to that I don't think will suck, and this doesn't look like it's going to suck. But I don't really know much about the actual storyline of this. I don't have any other details, or even the thinking back to the trailer, because I watched this a week ago, and I don't totally remember what happened in the trailer still. It was very vague. It's just more Star Wars, lightsabers. Ooh, Sith, they're coming out of the woodwork. What's going to happen? But not a lot else.
It's very vague. I don't know. Nothing got me excited. I'll be honest. I did not walk away from this going like, whoa, hey.
What's her name from The Matrix? Isn't it? So maybe she'll do some cool stuff.
Yeah, I was. I mean, you're talking to the person. I couldn't even finish Ahsoka.
You didn't finish it?
It was just like, no. I think I made it to episode 2 or 3.
Oh, it picks up maybe at the end. It's 2 series. It's like the opening stuff, and then once Thrawn comes into the picture, then it's like,
I don't know. I like there's Mandalorian 3 dragged so much for me by the time I got to Ahsoka, and I'm just like, you don't have it.
True statement.
Which is hard because I mean, what I'm looking forward to is the next season of Andor.
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
We got spoiled. We got spoiled with Andor.
Yeah. I think that's enough said there, where you just kind of go, oh. But it didn't get me too excited. The only other Star Wars project out there that I'm kind of intrigued about is this Skeleton Crew.
Ooh, yeah.
As soon as they said that it is Amblin-esque.
Yeah.
What? Come on now. We like Amblin. We like some Spielberg feel.
Sounds like it's almost like the Goonies in space.
Mm-hmm. Which I need to watch that again.
That was the energy
of Goonies in a long time.
Yep.
But it is interesting. So yeah, we've had a lot drop, a lot come out. I think much of this has been some maneuvering on Iger's part for this proxy fight that will be next week as this drops. Our next week's episode will be right on the heels of that. So I think it's intentional that some of these things have been dropped and decisions revealed and things kind of come out as they have felt the heat on this proxy fight, which one way or another, whatever you think about the proxy fights and stuff, if it motivates Disney to actually get its act together and do some stuff, okay.
I agree.
I'm okay with that.
As long as they can start heading in the right direction again, which we don't know. We don't know. Maybe we're either in a dip for Disney and they are going to right the ship, or we're headed in a new direction that could spell bad things. But you know what? This company's been around long enough. We've just celebrating 100 years. They've had dips
and they've
before,
had some
and they've pulled out of it.
big dips. Yeah. But I agree with you. What you said earlier, it just seems a little like, which direction? We're saying we need to let the creatives, run it more. We need, bring in these new people.
Fiscal responsibility in our creative. Yeah.
And then the next however movies, at least on the animated side, are all going to be sequels.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had mentioned several weeks ago, we are not excited about Moana 2. when
Scared.
zero of your creatives from the original are back.
Hey, The Rock.
Come on.
He doesn't count.
He's not a creative.
Well,
he's
talent.
He's talent. I'm talking about like
The people
writer,
making
director,
it,
the people who made the music. Like, you didn't even get Lin-Manuel Miranda to like do the credit song. Like, come on. Get him to do some type of rap in a credit song.
You know what random movie I just saw a trailer for when I was seeing Ghostbusters Frozen Tundra or whatever it's called? I didn't know that this is another remake coming out. It might be Disney. I forget if it is. Is Beetlejuice. They're redoing
Beetlejuice. It is not. That is Universal or Warner Brothers.
Oh, it is? Okay.
But it is Tim Burton.
I know. I saw Tim Burton. I was like, ooh, is this... Because he's in a lot with Disney. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. But
JB, earlier we were confessing big movies that we've never seen. I've never seen Beetlejuice.
I've only seen parts of it. You know what's funny right now? I'm literally looking at I've got my Apple Note. Thank you, Eddie, for bringing me into the fold with the Apple Note, which is how we even do this podcast. I am literally looking at my list of movies for 2024. And it's got some shows in there too. There is only one movie on this entire list that is not a sequel.
Yeah.
One. It's not every movie that's coming out, but I've got like 20 movies and shows on here. One. The Fall Guy.
What's the one?
The Fall Guy.
Yeah.
With Emily Blunt and
Ryan
Gosling. It's the only, or everything else is a sequel, prequel in the same universe. It's insane. We are in a weird time right now. I think all of Hollywood just needs a reboot. We just need to shock it into some life and give it some creative juices going.
Yeah, and you would think that this past year would hopefully teach people that, right? Where I think
after the strikes,
Barbie and Oppenheimer was the two that I was thinking were like, and I think Barbie and Mario are two very interesting things where you're going, okay, these are pre-existing IPs, but that have never been done before. Well, Mario maybe, but creating a new original story off of something that is known, but would be new in there. But then Oppenheimer winning Best Picture, making did it end up crossing the billion mark? I'm sure it's getting a re-release because of its Best Picture win. I'm sure it will if it hasn't.
Barbie definitely did. But Oppenheimer, it was 50 million away.
Yeah, so it'll eventually cross that with some of its re-releases right now. But you look at all of that and you go, come on, everybody, like we need some good original stories. I mean, I think Dune also is another good example of you can do franchise films, but you better do it like that.
It's one of the best.
We haven't talked about that.
It's one of the best. It's one of the best films I've seen in a long time.
Yes.
Probably maybe since the last Dune that came out in 2019 or 2021. I think is when it came out. But like, what an experience. Like even moments you saw from the trailer, just seeing it in the theater with all of that
I went
experience.
To the IMAX.
Of course you did, Eddie. Of course you did.
I was like, Sarah, I've got to drive over to the IMAX. I've got to see this.
Abandoned your family to go to the IMAX. I felt
guilty. But yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what shakes out of all of this. I hope, again, let's make movies that tell compelling stories with great visuals And hey, you don't have to drop the $200-300 million to make these movies. In fact, your movies are worse when you spend that money on it. It's the guys who are, Oppenheimer, right? He spent like $100 million on that.
Not that much.
Oppenheimer had a crazy, you're like, and it's all on the screen. It's all there. So I don't know. There's my little soapbox for being gone for 2 weeks. Let's spend less money, make better movies. Come on, let's do it.
Well, Eddie, speaking of better, I hope that you have a better week this week than you've had previously.
Yes, 2 weeks ago, I got a pretty severe, I guess you could say, stomach bug, whatever. I won't go into details.
Which in Costa Rica might be a literal bug that was like just sucking the life out of you.
Which I ended up in the ER. So 2 times in a 12-month period, not too shabby, but doing better. And then my kids were quite concerned, so they were taking good care of me.
Aww.
And then last week was my birthday, and I was like, I wanted to spend it with you, JB, and recording for this, but several people decided to surprise me with a little get together, I guess you could say a little surprise party. So that I was like, JB, I'm not going to be able to make it. Sorry about all that. So here we are, 1 year older, hopefully wiser, making our way
around the world. One more rotation.
Trying to say something.
One more rotation around the sun.
Around the sun, around the Disney nostalgic films. We got to get out of Eddie's indulging Eddie's little interest here in the history of Disney. But we'll get there. So with that, hopefully you are all filled up on your weekly dose of Disney nostalgia.
Be sure to subscribe to Honey, We Made a Disney podcast, wherever you listen to your other favorite podcasts, and give us a look on YouTube as well.
While you're there, please like and leave a 5-star review and share this podcast with your best friend.
You can also check us out at honeywemade.com, where you can see all of our nostalgic reviews of all the classic Disney movies we've covered so far.
Tune in next week as we review the television special, The Opening of Disneyland.
Ooh, thank you for listening. And remember, for as long as this silent sentinel stands guard over the lion's realm, so long shall the King of Beasts play out his role unchallenged in the primitive pageant of nature's Africa.